guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna speak about my labor and delivery story. Unfortunately, at the time I wasn't a YouTuber, so I didn't have like videos going into my labor, but I will have pictures of after the delivery of Francesca when she was born, and whenever they were measuring her and everything. I'll insert that somewhere over here as I speak. But so she was born on a Sunday morning at 6:38 a.m. I started having like contractions. At the time I didn't know they were contractions, but around Friday night. And Friday night, but they were very like far apart. I didn't know if they were contractions or cramps or whatever they were. They just felt like regular menstrual cramps. But then Saturday morning, I went to my husband's aunt's house with him, of course, and I started like, you know, feeling more pain, like more painful, I guess, cramps. And I was like, man, I don't feel good. And I just kept like laying down on the floor, like crunched in a ball, hopefully, like hoping like it would just go away, but they wouldn't go away. But they were every like 10 minutes. And so like they were still pretty far apart. But they kept getting closer and closer, like quicker and quicker as the time passed by. So it was around maybe like 6 or 7 already. We were trying to eat, and I was getting them like every 5 minutes, every 4 minutes, every 3 minutes, and I was trying to eat, and I was in so much pain. And I was like, man, I might be going into labor. Like, I don't know, because of course it's my first pregnancy, so you don't know. But I was like, I think I'm going into labor. And so I called my doctor and I was like, hey, you know, I feel like I'm going into labor. I'm having him like 4 minutes apart. And, you know, I was telling her everything that I felt. And she was like, how's your pain from 1 through 10? I was like, honestly, it's like a tolerable pain. It is painful, but it's tolerable. She was like, I don't think you're going to labor just yet. And I was like, okay. But then after that, we were planning on going to my parents that night. And so I got to my parents' house, and like on the way to my parents' house, I already felt like, you know, more pain. And I got to my parents, I was like, Mom, Dad, you know, I feel like pain. I called the doctor. She doesn't think I'm going into labor, but I'm, you know, I feel them closer together. At this time, they're already like 3 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart. And so we called my uncle. He's an OBGYN in Argentina, and he was like, you know, like, if you feel like they're so close together and it's a lot of pain, then you're most likely going into labor. Pack your bags and go. At this time, I already had her diaper bag ready, and I had my suitcase ready for the hospital. They just had to go pick it up at the apartment. And so my dad and Nick went over to the apartment, and they picked that up so that, you know, we could go to the hospital, because I knew I was staying at my parents that night, and they lived closer to the hospital, and I knew I was going into labor that night. Like, I was like, if it's not now, it's gonna be later in the middle of the night or something. So I just wanted to have that all prepared. I went to shower, you know, to see if like it would ease the pain, like being in like warm water. I washed my face, I cleaned myself. I had already ate dinner and everything. I was like laying down, and I was like, Mom, like, this hurts so bad. Like, this is it. Like, I'm going into labor. Like, I know it. Like, I just had like this gut feeling. I was like, I'm going into labor. But I was still waiting for Nick and my dad to come back. So whenever they got back, at this point, they were already like, I was timing them. They were like a minute apart, and they would last like 40 seconds. And I was like, crap, like, this hurts. This is it. This has to be it. And so whenever they got back, Nick and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to hospital. Like, I don't know, like come later, shower, whatever, but I'm going like right now. I was like, let's go right now, Nick. And so Nick and I, we drove to the hospital. It was only like a 10-minute drive from my parents' house. And I was like in so much pain. I was like crunching, biting my fist, trying not to like crack, but it was very painful. And like I would try to breathe and everything, like long deep breaths, to see if like it would ease the pain. And I mean, it helped. It like, you know, like you're trying to think about something else. So I mean, it kind of did help. And by the time I got to the hospital, I was in so much pain, I wasn't even trying to talk. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to labor. The doctor, you know, checked me in. I checked in. I waited for the doctor. They like took a wheelchair. They put me in the room. They checked my cervix, and I was 3 centimeters dilated. And they're like, hey, you know, you're in labor. And I was like, okay, like I figured that. And so then whenever they put me in this room, you know, they prepared me. They started like putting all like these stuff on me. They started giving me liquids like water to hydrate me and everything. I did have, at 36 weeks, they test you for GBS. There's like a really long word for it. I'll put it somewhere on the screen. Basically, it's like a bacteria that 25% of women that are healthy get. I don't know what really causes the bacteria. I'll try to put information about it here somewhere in the video. But it's nothing harmful towards me. It's not like a disease or anything like that. It's just like if you're having a natural birth, you can inherit that to the baby. So you have to have an antibiotic put into your system, 2 doses of it before the baby comes out. So they put penicillin, I can't ever say that word, penicillin, I don't know, whatever. So they started putting the first dose of it, and at this time I was having like really bad contractions, but I mean like it was fine. They were like, do you want an epidural? I was like, you know, I'll wait it out for a second, for a little bit more, because I wanted to go without an epidural. But then they put this antibiotic, they do it through like your veins, and I kid you not, like that was the worst pain I have ever felt in my life. Like I thought the contractions were bad. This was like 3 million times worse. Like I started like it felt like burning fire going through your veins, and like my wrist felt like it was broken. I started literally like crying, bawling, like, and I was shivering and I was shaking. I seriously thought I was having an allergic reaction to this, and the doctors were like, no, that's normal, you know, it's gonna hurt, but then it'll like ease away. By the way, it wasn't something that, you know, they do for like 2 minutes. It was like this much that they have to get through your system, and that took forever to finish. And I was like, I can't tolerate my contractions and this pain that I'm having from the liquids. Something like the antibiotics, something has to like, something has to ease my pain. I was like, I want the epidural now. At this point, I couldn't wait anymore. I needed it like now. And they don't give you the epidural right away. By the time I got the epidural, I was already 5 centimeters dilated, and they did, and like I was just like in so much pain. They have to run the water to hydrate you, like 2 bags of it before they give you the epidural. And so like they had stopped my antibiotics, finished hydrating me, and then gave me the epidural. Here, hold on, I'm gonna grab her chest. So, and then they grabbed the epidural. She's crazy, I know. She's in her PJs, but I'm gonna change her after this video. And like the epidural, honestly, it wasn't, I didn't look at the needle because I didn't want to, because I know it's like really long. But it didn't hurt, it just felt weird. Like it was like I don't know, like at the time you don't really think about the pain because you're having the contraction pains. The hardest part is that you have to like lean over, keep your back straight, and try not to move. And it's hard whenever you're having contractions. It's hard to not move. And so I was just like, God, like I literally, the nurse was like, you can squeeze my hands, and I grabbed his hands and I squeezed the crap out of his hands. I was like, I'm so sorry if I'm hurting you. But after that, like my pain went from like 11 to 0. Like it was magical. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't think that it worked that great, but it did. I don't know how, like I give props to moms that like last the whole labor without an epidural. I don't know how you guys do it, but I couldn't do it, especially since I had to take those antibiotics. So anyways, I had the epidural, I was fine, I was relaxed, and then they had to give me the rest of the antibiotics. And I still like, you know, kept shivering. I started crying because it really hurt. Like it was literally a burning sensation. It was awful. And then the second dose, they give it to you like 30 minutes or an hour later, I think. I got the second dose. The second dose isn't as concentrated as the first one, so it didn't hurt as much. It was tolerable, so that was fine. I like missed this. I got to the hospital, I think at like 9:30, and at first I was dilating very slowly, but then like I went from like 5 to 8 in a matter of like 30 minutes, I think. And then the last, like, I tried going to sleep, but you know, they come and wake you up, they check on you every like 15 minutes. It was crazy. So I couldn't really sleep. But then, what was it? It was around like 4 something, they checked my cervix again, and they were like, oh, you're ready. You're like at 9 centimeters dilated. I was almost about to be like 10. So, you know, they started notifying the doctor. The doctor got there around 5, and she checked. I was already 10 centimeters dilated, 5 in the morning, by the way. And she checked me, and I was already 10 centimeters dilated. She's like, okay, you're ready to push. And I was like, crap. Okay. So, you know, they started setting me up, and so they're like, okay, push. And at this time, I didn't know when I would have, you're supposed to push whenever you get a contraction, but I didn't know when I was having contractions because of the epidural. And so I was just trying to push whenever they would tell me, because they can check in the machine when I was having a contraction. Anyway, so yeah, I was like pushing, and she was like, oh, you're doing good, but I need you to push, like they're like, like if you needed to take the biggest poop of your life. And I was like, okay, this is awkward. By the way, in the room, they only allowed 2 people, and so I had my mom and my husband there. And so my husband was behind me. He wasn't looking because he was like, he didn't want to look. He'd probably faint. But then my mom was like actually looking at the birth. And I was pushing and pushing and trying. And like what they make you do is that I did 5 sets of like 3 pushes on each set except for the last one. So it's like you push 1, and then you breathe, you push again, you take a deep breath, and you push again. And that was like 1 set. And then they would let me take like 10-minute breaks in between going to the next set of 3 because her heart rate was going down. So she wasn't getting enough oxygen, and I wasn't getting enough oxygen. I was getting really tired. Pushing is very tough, guys. Like if you push and you go to the gym for like 3 hours, like pushing is a lot harder than that. Like it's a lot more tiring. So I would take breaks. I would go again, you know, push, nothing. And, you know, it was finally like the fifth round that I was about to go push. They're like, you know, I was tired at this point, and they're like, you know, you need a break. Her heart rate kept going down to like 30 and 40, and it wouldn't go back up quick enough. So she needed oxygen. And by this time, she was like, this is the last round of pushes. If you don't get this baby, she has to come out now. She was like, if you don't get this baby out, we're gonna have to do an emergency C-section. And by the time, it had already been like an hour and a half that I had been pushing. And like, she's like, and I don't want to do that to you. Like, that's the last thing I wanna do to you. She's coming out at this, like, right now. And I was like, crap. And like, I legit, like, I started crying. I was like, she's not coming out. And I did not want a C-section at all. But I was like, she's not coming out. Like, I was like, I've tried for so long. Why is she coming out now? I was like, she's never coming out. That was my, like, thought. And so I was like, oh my God. And my mom started to get worried because, you know, she saw that like she wasn't coming out, and there was a reason. It was because she had her umbilical cord tied around her neck. So that's what was causing her to not breathe, and that was what was causing her to not come out too. And so it was finally those last like 4 pushes. I did 3 pushes, and then she was like, last one, give it all you have, Paula. And I was like, crap, like, and I pushed, and she came out and I was like, wow, like that is a miracle. You know, going into like labor, I was like, I'm never having another kid, like ever. Like the pain is awful, like this can't be it. And then whenever like the baby comes out, they automatically, you know, they went to measure her, they weighed her, they kind of like wiped her. She wasn't very bloody or anything. They kind of wiped her, and then she came and they put her on your chest because they like to be they like to do chest to chest with you, with the mom, because you know the baby can still hear your heartbeat, and they've been in the womb for so long that that's like the closest thing they have to you. They feel your touch and your heat and everything. So they automatically, after they like measured her, they put her on top of me, and we did chest to chest. And in that moment, I legit like just started crying. I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe she's here and I can't believe she's mine. Like it was the most emotional time and the most happiest time I think I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. And I was just like in disbelief that, like, you know, this little human was made by Nick and I. And she was like the most perfect thing in the world ever. She was born 5 pounds and 10 ounces. She was a very small baby. And then she measured at 18 inches. So the average is like 19 inches. So she was a little bit below that. But she was also 2 weeks early. I gave labor at 38 weeks, not 40. And she was born on November 26, 2017 at 6:38 a.m. So I did push for like an hour and a half. And it was literally the like best experience of my life. After that, I was just like, oh, this was so worth it. Like I would totally go through all of this pain and craziness all over again to have another child, because I like, even though it was so painful, it was such a bittersweet feeling. Like, and you won't ever know until you become a mom yourself and you go through all that. So yeah, that was my labor delivery story. And then after that, you know, I was fine. Like I wasn't like in pain or anything. I was numb from the epidural still. I was fine. Said practically the whole story. If I miss out on anything, you know, just comment down below, or if you have any questions, put them down below, and I'll comment back your messages and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it for my delivery and labor, or labor and delivery story. I promise, well, I hope the next video isn't a sit down and talk video. I just know like people wanted to see this video. But anyways, we will see you on the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed my labor and delivery story. If you have any questions, put them down below. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it. And turn that post notification bell on so that you can know every single time we make a new video. Bye!